crucified her ex-husband. She made him the bad guy.
The divorce would have never even been out if he didn't file the motion to use our full and legal names.
Then she had to go and she had to get new energy. What was she calling him? Her apple pies? Have you seen my apple pies?
Did you see my apple pie?
Oh my God, you did a love scene with Leonardo DiCaprio.
How was it shooting those scenes with Leo?
It was just work. Girl.
Who is Teyana Taylor sleeping with to get all these?
Buckle up, because the names at the center of this viral storm are ones nobody expected to see trending together. Pierre and Teyana Taylor are now being pulled into an online conversation that's moving faster than facts can catch up. According to unverified claims circulating across social media, what started as whispers has turned into full-blown speculation, with fans revisiting interviews, analyzing body language, and questioning moments that once seemed harmless. Clips are resurfacing, old headlines are being reread, and suddenly, people are asking whether there was more happening behind the scenes than the public ever knew. Pierre's recent silence, paired with emotional shifts fans claim they've noticed, has only intensified the discussion. Meanwhile, Teyana Taylor's past public image is being re-examined through a much harsher lens by online commentators. No official confirmations have been made, but that hasn't stopped timelines from exploding with theories, debates, and heated reactions. Supporters on both sides are clashing. Critics are warning about jumping to conclusions, and the internet is doing what it does best, turning speculation into spectacle. Whether these allegations hold weight or completely fall apart, the impact is already real. Reputations are being questioned, narratives are shifting, and one thing is clear. Once names like these enter the conversation, nothing stays quiet for long. What began as quiet speculation has now grown into one of the most talked about online controversies, and the reason it's spreading so fast is because the names involved carry serious weight. Pierre and Teyana Taylor are now at the center of a digital storm fueled by unverified claims, resurfaced clips, and a wave of intense public reaction. According to conversations circulating online, fans believe something deeper than a typical celebrity breakup or disagreement may be at play. The internet didn't arrive here overnight. It started slowly, with people noticing changes they couldn't explain. Pierre appeared more reserved in recent appearances. Interviews felt heavier, pauses lingered longer. At the time, most viewers assumed it was exhaustion or career pressure. But now, many are revisiting those moments with a completely different perspective. As speculation gained traction, older content began resurfacing. Social media users started pulling clips from past interviews, red carpet footage, and casual interactions, dissecting body language and tone. Every glance, every word, every silence was suddenly being analyzed. According to online discussions, some viewers believe Aaron's demeanor shifted dramatically after a certain point in time. Others argue that interpreting emotion from clips is unreliable and dangerous. That disagreement alone has fueled thousands of comments and reaction videos. Teyana Taylor, known for her strong presence, confidence, and carefully built public image, has also found herself under an intense spotlight. Online commentators are now re-examining past narratives, questioning whether the image presented to the public always told the full story. Supporters defend her fiercely, pointing out that speculation without proof can be harmful and irresponsible. Critics, however, argue that public figures invite scrutiny when serious allegations enter the conversation, even if those allegations remain unconfirmed. The divide has become sharp and emotional. What makes this situation especially volatile is the nature of the claims being discussed. While no official statements or evidence have been presented, online speculation suggests the allegations involve trust, personal safety, and private matters that, if true, would carry serious implications. That alone has escalated the conversation beyond standard gossip. Viewers aren't just debating drama anymore. They're debating ethics, responsibility, and whether silence protects or damages credibility. Pierre's lack of a detailed public response has become a major focal point. Some believe he's being cautious, possibly advised to stay quiet while legal or personal matters unfold. Others interpret the silence as confirmation that something serious is happening behind the scenes. In the age of instant updates, silence often speaks louder than denial, whether that's fair or not. Each day without clarification allows speculation to grow, evolve, and harden into belief for some viewers. Meanwhile, Teyana Taylor's supporters argue that the internet has a long history of turning rumors into narratives without accountability. They warn that rewatching content with a biased lens can create false patterns that were never there. According to them, confidence can be mistaken for guilt, and privacy can be misread as secrecy. This back and forth has turned comment sections into battlegrounds, with emotions running high on both sides. Another reason this story refuses to slow down is how easily it taps into larger conversations about celebrity culture. Many viewers already believe that Hollywood prioritizes image over truth. So when allegations surface, especially ones involving private behavior, people are quick to assume there's more hidden beneath the surface. That doesn't make the claims accurate, but it explains why so many are willing to entertain them. The idea that powerful people can avoid scrutiny is already deeply embedded in public perception. Creators across platforms have added fuel to the fire by sharing theories, reactions, and breakdowns. Some are careful to remind audiences that everything remains alleged. Others lean heavily into shock value, blurring the line between commentary and accusation. As a result, the story has taken on a life of its own. It's no longer just about Aaron Pierre or Teyana Taylor. It's about how quickly narratives form, spread, and solidify in the digital age. There's also the emotional layer that keeps pulling people back in. Viewers claim to sense pain in Aaron's recent appearances. Others argue that emotional expression doesn't equal truth. Both perspectives coexist, creating a tense gray area where certainty feels impossible. This uncertainty is exactly what keeps engagement high. People don't just want updates, they want resolution. As the days pass, more questions surface than answers. Why now? Why these names? Why this level of intensity? Some believe the timing is tied to career momentum. Others think it's coincidence, amplified by algorithms. Regardless of the reason, the impact is undeniable. Reputations are being questioned, fan bases are splitting, and both individuals are now linked in a narrative neither has publicly confirmed. One of the most unsettling aspects of this situation is how quickly private matters can become public property. Even unverified claims can leave lasting damage. Trust erodes, assumptions harden, and once a story enters the public consciousness, correcting it becomes nearly impossible. This is why so many voices are urging caution, reminding audiences that allegations are not facts, and speculation is not proof. The conversation continues to grow. Hashtags trend, clips resurface, opinions harden, and the pressure builds for someone to speak, clarify, or push back. Until that happens, the internet will keep filling the silence with its own conclusions. What happens next will shape how this story is remembered. Whether these allegations collapse under scrutiny or lead to deeper revelations, the moment itself has already exposed something important about modern fame. In today's world, perception moves faster than truth, and once a narrative takes hold, it doesn't wait for confirmation. And as millions continue watching, reacting, and debating, one thing is certain: this story is far from over. As the online conversation continued to grow, the pressure around Aaron Pierre and Teyana Taylor intensified in ways that few celebrity stories ever reach. What once felt like background noise suddenly became unavoidable. Every appearance, every post, every moment of silence was now being interpreted as a statement, whether intended or not. According to online observers, the tension surrounding Aaron seemed to deepen. Fans claimed his body language appeared guarded, his tone more cautious than before. Some said he looked like someone carrying a weight he wasn't ready to explain. Others pushed back, arguing that projecting emotions onto someone is unfair and often misleading. Still, the theories kept coming. Teyana Taylor, meanwhile, remained a focal point of debate. Supporters emphasized her history of resilience and independence, reminding audiences that confidence has often been mischaracterized, especially when public narratives turn hostile. Critics, however, argued that strong public images can sometimes shield private behavior from scrutiny. This clash of perspectives turned the situation into more than a story. It became a referendum on how society judges celebrities when allegations surface without confirmation. What truly escalated the discussion was how quickly unrelated moments were pulled into the narrative. Old collaborations, casual interviews, social media captions that once seemed harmless were suddenly treated like clues. According to online speculation, people began building timelines, comparing dates, and looking for overlaps that might suggest something more. Others warned that this kind of crowdsourced investigation often leads to false conclusions, driven more by emotion than evidence. But logic rarely slows virality. Aaron Pierre's continued restraint added another layer of complexity. Some viewers believe he's protecting himself, waiting for the right moment or the right channel to respond. Others think silence is a sign of legal caution, not guilt or confirmation. In the modern media landscape, though, silence doesn't stay neutral for long. It becomes a blank screen onto which the public projects whatever story feels most compelling. And right now, the most compelling stories are the most dramatic ones. The conversation also began shifting toward broader industry concerns. Commentators questioned whether Hollywood environments discourage transparency, especially when reputations and careers are on the line. People asked whether the system rewards silence more than honesty, and whether speaking out ever truly feels safe. These questions weren't directed at any one individual, but the timing made them feel uncomfortably relevant. Aaron and Teyana became symbols in a much larger debate, whether they wanted that role or not. Another factor fueling the fire was the emotional tone surrounding the discussion. Viewers weren't just curious, many were deeply invested. Some expressed concern, empathy, even fear about what unverified allegations might imply. Others expressed frustration, warning that emotional reactions can destroy lives just as easily as wrongdoing can. This emotional divide made the discourse volatile. Every new post felt like it could tip the balance one way or the other. As reaction videos multiplied, the narrative fragmented. Some creators framed the situation as a cautionary tale about believing rumors. Others framed it as an example of how truth often struggles to surface in powerful spaces. Very few attempted to slow things down. Speed was the currency, and outrage drove engagement. In that environment, nuance struggled to survive. Teyana Taylor's past interviews were scrutinized more intensely than ever. Lines spoken years ago were replayed with new interpretations layered on top. Supporters argued this was revisionist thinking, while critics said patterns only become visible in hindsight. Once again, there was no agreement, only louder voices. The story kept evolving without new facts, driven almost entirely by interpretation. Behind all of this was a quieter concern many viewers expressed: the long-term impact. Allegations don't disappear easily, even when unproven. Once associated with controversy, names carry that shadow indefinitely. Fans debated whether either Aaron or Teyana could return to normal public life after this moment. Others insisted that the internet always moves on eventually. But history suggests that some narratives stick, regardless of outcome. Another shift occurred as legal and ethical discussions entered the conversation. Commentators reminded audiences that there's a real difference between suspicion and proof, between discussion and accusation. They warned that crossing that line can cause irreversible harm. At the same time, others argued that uncomfortable conversations are necessary to expose deeper problems. That tension, between caution and confrontation, sat at the heart of the entire debate. As days passed, anticipation grew. People weren't just watching for updates. They were waiting for a turning point, a statement, a clarification, a denial, anything that might anchor the story to something concrete. Until then, speculation remained the only fuel, and the fire showed no signs of burning out. What made this moment particularly unsettling was how easily reality blurred with narrative. For some viewers, the story already felt real, regardless of confirmation. For others, it felt like a dangerous example of how quickly the internet can construct villains and victims. Both perspectives existed simultaneously, feeding off each other and amplifying the tension. Aaron Pierre and Teyana Taylor, whether intentionally or not, had become central figures in a conversation much larger than themselves. A conversation about trust, power, silence, and the consequences of fame in a digital world that rarely waits for facts. As the pressure continued to mount, one truth became increasingly clear. Once the internet decides a story matters, it doesn't let go easily. And with more eyes watching, more opinions forming, and more voices weighing in, the situation felt poised on the edge of escalation. Whatever comes next, clarity, denial, or deeper controversy, will shape not only how this story ends, but how it's remembered. Because at this point, it's no longer just about what's alleged. It's about how quickly perception becomes reality when millions are watching. By the time the conversation reached this stage, it was clear that whatever was happening online had moved beyond curiosity and entered a phase of pressure. Aaron Pierre and Teyana Taylor were no longer just names trending for a moment. They had become symbols in a much larger cultural argument about truth, silence, and how quickly public opinion can harden without confirmation. According to online chatter, people weren't just asking questions anymore, they were demanding answers. And that shift changed the tone of everything. Fans began dissecting not only what had been said, but what hadn't. Every missed appearance, every delayed post, every carefully worded caption was treated like a calculated move. Some viewers argued that Aaron Pierre's continued restraint showed discipline and caution, possibly the weight of legal advice or personal boundaries. Others claimed the silence felt heavy, almost intentional, as if he were allowing the public to see his discomfort without spelling anything out. That interpretation, whether fair or not, spread rapidly. At the same time, the focus on Teyana Taylor intensified. Online commentators debated whether the scrutiny itself had crossed a line. Supporters insisted she was being judged based on speculation rather than substance, pointing out how quickly confidence in women is reframed as suspicion once a narrative turns negative. Critics responded that public figures benefit from attention when it's positive and can't fully avoid it when it turns uncomfortable. The clash became emotional, ideological, and deeply personal for many viewers. What made this phase especially volatile was the way assumptions started masquerading as conclusions. Repeated theories began to sound like established truths in some spaces. People spoke with certainty about timelines they didn't actually know, motivations they couldn't prove, and private moments they never witnessed. Others pushed back hard, reminding audiences that repetition doesn't equal reality. Still, the louder voices often drowned out the cautious ones. Another shift occurred when people began discussing consequences. Not hypothetical ones, but real-life impact. Careers, mental health, long-term reputation. Viewers started asking whether either Aaron or Teyana could ever fully escape the shadow of this moment, regardless of how it ends. History suggests that even cleared allegations leave residue. Screenshots live forever, clips get reposted without context, and public memory is selective. The story also sparked conversations about responsibility in the creator economy. Reaction channels and commentary pages faced criticism for how far they were willing to go for views. Some creators issued disclaimers, stressing that everything discussed was alleged. Others leaned into sensational framing, blurring lines between rumor and assertion. This raised uncomfortable questions about who benefits most when a story like this explodes. Skeptics countered that emotional projection is unreliable and often shaped by the story people already want to believe. Both perspectives circulated side by side, creating a narrative tug-of-war with no referee. Meanwhile, Teyana Taylor's silence, or perceived silence, became its own topic. Some argued that choosing not to engage was a smart move in an environment that thrives on reaction. Others believed that the absence of a response allowed speculation to grow unchecked. In the digital age, saying nothing is rarely neutral. It's interpreted, analyzed, and sometimes weaponized by audiences hungry for clarity. As more time passed, fatigue began to mix with obsession. Some viewers expressed frustration at the lack of concrete information, while others admitted they couldn't stop watching. This push and pull kept engagement high. The story didn't need new developments to survive. It fed on anticipation alone. People were waiting for a moment that might never come, but the waiting itself became part of the experience. There was also a noticeable shift toward moral judgment. Discussions moved from what might have happened to what kind of people would allow this to happen. That transition is dangerous because it turns speculation into character assassination. Even so, it happened quickly, fueled by emotion and reinforced by echo chambers. Once moral framing enters a narrative, reversing it becomes nearly impossible. Some voices attempted to slow things down, calling for patience and restraint. They reminded audiences that real lives sit behind trending topics, that allegations can hurt even when false. That certainty without evidence is just belief dressed up as confidence. But those voices struggled to compete with the momentum of a story already moving too fast to stop. By this point, Aaron Pierre and Teyana Taylor were no longer fully in control of their own narrative. The internet had taken over, remixing fragments into a storyline that felt complete even without confirmation. That's the most unsettling part, when a story feels finished before the truth ever arrives. As pressure continued to build, speculation turned toward what might come next. A statement? A legal response? A quiet fade as attention shifts elsewhere? No one knew, but everyone had an opinion, and every possible outcome was being debated in advance, as if the future itself were just another clip to react to. What this moment exposed, more than anything, was the fragility of reputation in the digital age. How quickly admiration can turn into suspicion. How silence can be interpreted as strategy or guilt, depending on who's watching. And how once a narrative takes hold, facts often arrive too late to fully undo the damage. Whether these allegations eventually collapse or lead to deeper revelations, the impact of this period will linger. Screenshots, opinions, and emotional reactions have already been locked into the public record. And that means this story won't simply disappear. It will evolve, resurface, and be reinterpreted over time. As millions continue watching and waiting, one thing remains certain. This moment has become a case study in modern celebrity culture. A reminder that in an era driven by speed and speculation, perception doesn't just follow reality. Sometimes it replaces it. And whatever happens next, it won't just define how this story ends. It will define how it's remembered. If you've been following this story until now, don't just scroll away. This is one of those moments where conversation matters. Allegations, silence, and public reaction are shaping narratives in real time, and how people respond next could influence what happens moving forward. Whether you believe these claims deserve deeper scrutiny or think the internet is moving too fast without proof, your voice plays a role in how stories like this evolve. Drop your thoughts in the comments, respectfully. Debate the ideas, not the people. Share this video so others can see how quickly perception can shift when speculation takes over. And most importantly, stay critical. Not every viral story is truth, and not every silence means guilt. If you want updates as this situation develops, make sure you're subscribed and notifications are turned on, because this conversation isn't over yet. New reactions, new perspectives, and possible clarifications could surface at any moment. Until then, question everything, protect your judgment, and don't let algorithms think for you. This is how awareness starts, not with outrage, but with attention.